Peace cannot be kept by force, it can only be achieved by understanding. Albert Einstein. Peace is not the absence of conflict, but the ability to cope with it. Mahatma Gandhi. The mediation by the serpent was necessary. Evil can seduce man, but cannot become a man. Franz Kafka. Whenever you're in conflict with someone, there is one factor that can make the difference between damaging your relationship and deepening it. That factor is attitude. William James. Mediation and reconciliation work is about a profound quest for justice and social transformation. But at the same time, they are about service, solidarity, and exploring and rediscovering the human spirit that has been lost or shattered through human conflict, cruelty, ignorance and greed. Iskia Zasefa. Peace is not the absence of conflict but the presence of creative alternatives for responding to conflict, alternatives to passive or aggressive responses, alternatives to violence. Dorothy Thompson. The courts of this country should not be the places where the resolution of disputes begins. They should be the places where the disputes end, after alternative methods of resolving disputes have been considered and tried. Sandra Day O'Connor. Let us never negotiate out of fear. But let us never fear to negotiate. John F. Kennedy. There are those who feel that meditation is unrealistic or takes them out of the world, and if that was your experience with mediation, you weren't meditating. Frederick Lenz. Change means movement. Movement means friction. Only in the frictionless vacuum of a non-existent abstract world can movement or change occur without that abrasive friction of conflict. Saul Alinsky. I am very lucky that I have talented and creative people around me. Also, mediation has been a very big part of my freedom, because it allows me to watch all the things going on and allows me to focus. Russell Simmons. Man must evolve for all human conflict a method that rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation. The foundation of such a method is love. Martin Luther King Jr. Meditation means removing all your prejudices, putting all your conclusions aside, seeing without any hindrance, seeing without any curtains, seeing clearly without any mediation of any thought, seeing without Buddha standing between you and reality, or Krishna, or Christ. Rajneesh. That one body may act upon another at a distance through a vacuum, without the mediation of anything else, by and through which their action and force may be conveyed from one to another, is to me so great an absurdity, that I believe no man, who has in philosophical matters a competent faculty of thinking, can ever fall into it. Isaac Newton. I was deluding myself that the song was almost not important, but I think the real thing that was happening was almost like self-hypnosis or mediation. The guitar lick was the transcendental key that unlocked my brain. It freed me. And then it all became easy. It's funny now because I've had times when it wasn't easy. John Fogerty. Progress in mediation comes swiftly for those who try their hardest. Patanjali. You can't always get what you want. But, if you're lucky, you get what you need. Justin Bieber. Don't think of us as separate beings. Imagine that we are one body and it's been split into millions. When we sit in the mediation hall, that is unity. Frederick Lenz. I always hold out hope. Mediation is an opportunity for each side to present their case, and for us to get back to the table again. Ron Weber. Meditation. Before you learn how to meditate, you must unlearn what you think meditation might be. Idris Shah. You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you might find, you get what you need. Mick Jagger. Some days, a beautiful sunset with your best friend can be one of the most peaceful and relaxing mediations of the day. Charles M. Schultz. Start today by practicing constant conversation with God and continual mediation on His Word. Prayer lets you speak to God, mediation lets God speak to you. Rick Warren. The more you establish quiet time and mediation as part of your daily discipline, the more you go through the rotation into mirror, dream, worlds. Stuart Wilde. My preparation is always mediation and deep breathing. And the rubbing of my hands together just gets my energy going. John Edward. A good manager doesn't try to eliminate conflict, he tries to keep it from wasting the energies of his people. If you're the boss and your people fight you openly when they think that you are wrong, that's healthy. Robert Townsend. Nature doth thus kindly heal every wound. By the mediation of 1,000 little mosses and fungi, the most unsightly objects become radiant of beauty. There seem to be two sides of this world, presented to us at different times, as we see things in growth or dissolution, in life or death. And seen with the eye of the poet, as God sees them, all things are alive and beautiful. Henry David. I think nonviolence and the mediation of conflict by means of respecting civility must be promoted. But being the kind of beings we, people, are wrestling with greed, and wrestling with fears and security, anxieties, wrestling with hatred that shot through all of us, wars are here to stay. Cornel West. All experience is a drug experience. Whether it's mediated by our own, endogenous, drugs, or whether it's mediated by substances that we ingest that are found in plants, cognition, consciousness, the working of the brain, it's all a chemically mediated process. Life itself is a drug experience. Dennis McKenna. Practice mediation and concentration exercises, and begin to think more about regaining your sensitivity by avoiding draining situations. Not because of fear but because of intelligence. Frederick Lenz. An advanced way to meditate, of course, is to focus on your teacher. If you have a spiritual teacher and you focus on them during mediation, then you access the light that flows through them. Frederick Lenz. I meditate. That's like saying I eat. Think of all the food there is. And there are almost as many varieties of mediation. Devendra Banhart. Concern for the symbol has completely disappeared from our science. And yet, if one were to give oneself the trouble, one could easily find, in certain parts at least of contemporary mathematics, symbols as clear, as beautiful, and as full of spiritual meaning as that of the circle and mediation. From modern thought to ancient wisdom, the path would be short and direct if one cared to take it. Simone Weil. Man must evolve for all human conflict a method that rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation. The foundation of such a method is love. Martin Luther King Jr. Everyone meditates in their own way. Some people sit and practice formal mediation techniques for many hours a day, while others spontaneously meditate while watching a sunset, listening to music, or participating in athletics. Frederick Lenz. The photograph suggests that our image of reality is made up of images. It makes explicit the domination of mediation. Andy Grunberg. When my life does get frantic and busy, there's always time to fit something in, even if it means getting up 15 minutes earlier. I get out of bed, do a few asanas, and then do a little bit of mediation. I just structure it into the day. It's really, really simple. Jane Middlemas. It just is nothing foreign to consciousness at all that could present itself to consciousness through the mediation of phenomena different from the liking itself. To like is intrinsically to be conscious. Edmund Husserl. I liked my teacher very much, and after some years of mediation, I began to teach meditation, referring all things that I didn't know to my own teacher. Frederick Lenz. I enjoy mediation. I think the artist's position is often to mend the things we feel are broken. Whether that's between two cultures or two thoughts. We're always trying to reach, trying to expand something. Karen. A lot of people have this live or die attitude with mediation. It has to be all or nothing. I don't think it should be. It's a study that you follow for the rest of your life. Frederick Lenz. Architecture is the art of reconciliation between ourselves and the world, and this mediation takes place through the senses of Juhani Pallasmaa. The monotony of provincial life attracts the attention of people to the kitchen. You do not dine as luxuriously in the provinces as in Paris, but you dine better because the dishes served you are the result of mediation and study. Honoré de Balzac. We need to remain alert to what happens to the body when it is mediatized. Too often, the mediatized body is an anesthetized body. I would be the last person to argue that the body signifies at some basic level that precedes or transcends its cultural inscriptions. Nevertheless, there is an ethical imperative not to conflate the body with its representations and mediations, but to remember that there is an actual body there somewhere, experiencing the consequences of what is being done to it. Philip Auslander. Brian Turner has given us not so much a memoir as a mediation, rendered with grace and wit and wisdom. If you want to know what modern soldiers see when they look at their world, read this book. Larry Heinemann. I have often discussed the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path in talks I have given about meditation. But, since I also teach Hindu, Buddhist, and Taoist mediation, I have a very eclectic approach to the subject. Frederick Lenz. I found the experiences that I had with sexuality were wonderful, they were very uplifting, we had a good time, and they didn't seem to affect the level of my mediation. Frederick Lenz. I can very well say without hesitation that all those who have political power, even if they use it well, have acquired it by demonic mediation, and even if they are not conscious of it, they are worshippers of Diabolos. Jacques Ellul. We shall never stop until we can go back home and Israel is destroyed. The goal of our struggle is the end of Israel, and there can be no compromises or mediations. The goal of this violence is the elimination of Zionism from Palestine and all its political, economic and military aspects. We don't want peace, we want victory. Peace for us means Israel's destruction and nothing else. Yasser Arafat. Some relate that the eagle tries the eyes of her young by turning them to the sun, which if they cannot look steadily on, she rejects them as spurious. We may truly try our faith by immediate intuitions of the Son of Righteousness. Direct faith to act itself, immediately and directly on the incarnation of Christ and his mediation, and if it be not the right kind and race, it will turn its eyes aside to anything else. John Owen.